This is March. Yeah, okay.
This
Huh?
morning, and I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. These are oil sausages.
Okay. Well, if you still want me to go with you, I will. I had another meeting that same night that I was thinking that. Yeah. It does.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we get started tonight, if there's anyone here from the public to provide testimony or evidence about a specific certificate of appropriateness on tonight's agenda, please sign up on the sign-up sheet in the back of the room, and you'll be given an opportunity to speak during the meeting at the appropriate time. If you were already on the agenda, you don't need to sign up for prior to the start of the meeting, and you'll be granted permission to provide testimony before the commission. If COA test, they're making testimony for the COA. Yeah. But, two of them.
We'll call the meeting to order for the Historic Resource Commission, March 12th. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. The purpose of the Historic Resource Commission is to safeguard important elements of Graham's cultural history and architectural history, to preserve those districts and landmarks for the education, pleasure, and enrichment of residents and visitors. Approval of minutes. Has everyone read the minutes? Any changes?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, these are, excuse me, these are very minor, but in the Pledge of Allegiance, it states that Carrie Worthy requested a moment of prayer. I believe that should be silence. I don't know if that's,
Okay.
and on the second page, number 6, the word rationale is misspelled.
Thank you.
It changes the meaning.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other changes? We'll make those changes. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as changed?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of way it changed.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Thank you very much. We will proceed to review the certificate of appropriateness applications on the agenda tonight. The HRC is responsible for evaluating whether a COA request meets the criteria in the HRC design guidelines. It is important to note HRC decisions on COA are considered quasi-judicial, can't say that, and as such follow specific procedural rules. In order to protect individuals' due process rights, the Commission agrees to be impartial decision makers, provide proper public notice, and consider only competent and material evidence based on facts, not conjecture or hearsay testimony. So we will see COA 1902, projecting signs, and it was Jason Cox. Does any commission members have any conflict of interest or disclosure? Okay. Has anyone on the commission had any ex parte communication about this case? All right, thank you. Tonight's meetings will follow Robert's Rules of Orders. If you are here to provide evidence for the COA on tonight's agenda, the chair will recognize you at the appropriate time before yielding the floor. All speakers should come to the podium and first state their name and address for the record. Speakers should directly address the commission. I ask that all speakers sign up to provide testimony on the COA of 1902. Come to the front to be sworn in. This is done to ensure that only facts or evidence pertaining to this item are presented to the commission's opinion, or hearsay testimony may not be entered in on evidence and will not be permitted by me so as not to provide or violate the appropriate due process rights. Is there anyone that needs to be sworn in?
You guys were applicants as well. If you want to. Oh, sorry. This one's for the.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God? I do.
So the applicant sent a letter saying that he was unable to be here tonight. He's in Wilmington again this time this month. He did provide a letter, and since that was submitted on 3/6, I was unable to include it with your packet, but I'd like to read it just so that you have the same information and are going off the most current. There's also a copy at each of your desks. Essentially, as requested, this is Jason Cox. He is providing additional information to address concerns raised at the February meeting. So this is a continuation of last month's item. And what he's proposing are 2 projecting signs along the southern face of Court Square. Each arm will hold up to 2 panels, allowing each upstairs suite a sign along that facade. For reference, the sign panel for Feel Better Yoga is 22 inches high and 36 inches wide, with the ability for a second panel of the same size to be hung below for its neighboring upstairs unit. We would anticipate the same general dimensions and setup for signs with all adequate height clearances and projection distances met, which that's in regard to the development ordinance regulations in terms of how far off the street. As an update, there is already an open tenant at 101 North Main, Volt Salon, that has expressed recent interest in a projecting sign as well as the wall sign that they currently have on their window. Any applications for this will be submitted separately, but he wanted to be transparent in the possibility of that moving forward in the future, and that's on a different building, or that's on that building, but different application. This is specifically related to the Scott building. Yeah. While the exact location will need to be dictated by visibility, height clearance, etc., the intention is to place below the second story window at or near general locations noted in the application photograph, denoted in green, which are here below from the right side, that green box. Does everyone see that? It's right
Where it is in the
here.
white.
It's, I call it the glow color.
Here.
Right.
These two.
So that's where the signs will hang from.
Right, that's where he's proposing, and that's where we're typically, for projecting signs, it's not going to be above that. That's where the recommended projecting sign location is that
Right.
halfway between the first story and second story. So that's the current placement of projecting signs. If someone were to apply for the second story, that wouldn't be approved. It would need to go in that location.
The yellow sign is going to be gone, right? Is that what you're saying?
The yellow sign I'll get to in a moment.
Okay.
So no projecting sign would be project at or above any second story windows is his statement. Use of signage. I, Jason Cox, cannot unreasonably restrict tenant signage options per the leases in place. He's attempting to use this application as an agreed alternative to larger wall-mounted signs. Any final application will require tenant approval and submittals, but it is our goal to exclusively use projecting signage along with a tenant directory for the entry at the court square facade. His earlier application gave an example of the area on which the wall-mounted sign of up to 25 square feet could be applied to each facade. The goal is to avoid such an application while balancing the need for each tenant to have a suitable signage and wayfinding for their customers. The use of the projecting sign panels along with the directory at the doorway is his preferred option. However, if unable to accommodate this, his lease will require allowing them the alternative option, which will likely impact some architectural features due to the timing of approved leases and work being completed. If he's unable to obtain approval at the March meeting, he will need to pursue a staff level approval of this alternative option. So he needs a determination tonight of the commission. Alternatively, he needs to look at where this yellow box is, having some sort of signage in that area.
The large yellow box.
Right.
And
And
we
that,
have basically two options. Or three options.
that area, I think, currently has some architectural features. So I don't know that he could get staff level approval. I would have to recommend that it comes before you.
Right, because of the dental model.
Right.
Right.
But I think if he applied for it in this red square box, that doesn't necessarily cover up any architectural features. So therefore, it could be approved at a staff administration level. So I think that's where he's coming from.
Let me ask you this. If we were to table this once more, would we be allowed to do that for the next meeting?
I think it would
That
be,
Would be here.
I don't recommend that option. It's possible you have that prerogative, but in the absence of a reason for making that determination, his next action item would just be to come to staff and get a minor COA in the box that's located, the red box there. And I would have to approve that application.
Why?
Because there's not anything that it's not covering an architectural feature. It would be like any other regular sign.
Okay, so then why are we even hearing this? Is my.
Because
He's trying to-
he wants the
Projecting signs.
projection signs.
So if he.
He doesn't, he doesn't want the red sign that we're looking at, that we're talking about, that he could have.
Could be more expensive.
He wants
Something
the,
as he can even- My,
the projection signs.
my question about the projecting signs is you've come around the courthouse and you're leaving the square before you even see the businesses are there. I don't understand why he wants to put them.
Well, that's not our
Well,
determination. That's up
I
to
know,
him.
but
A thing we have to
I don't
decide on.
understand why he wants.
And
to
we're
put
only
'em on.
talking about this building, is that correct? Or
This
in
is
his
spec-
proposal, are we talking about the building across the street also?
This is specific to this building.
Okay.
If you were to make a recommendation to allow the projecting signs, I would recommend that the commission also state the reasons, the rationale, like that there are architectural details in the traditional signage area that don't allow for the wall sign in the area that's recommended in the design guidelines. Alternatively, you may also place conditions on the approval of such a application to say something along the lines of they may not have a wall sign in addition to the addition of projecting signs.
That was that's an excellent point. I was going to actually ask, is he asking for two, the projecting and the wall sign? Is that what we're hearing?
No.
It's either or.
Well, if you place that condition as part of this COA to say, if we grant this,
The projecting
Condition.
signs, there will be no wall sign.
correct.
Okay, my other question is, do I understand from his statement here that if we fail to approve his request for the projecting signs, he will allow his tenants to put up whatever kind of sign is required only with a minor COA? Is this what I'm getting from this?
So from his perspective, if he said tenants, it's too difficult to go through, or it's not allowed to have additional projecting signs, we're gonna have to go through the traditional route. And our current guidelines say that as a minor COA, I can approve a wall sign of a certain dimension. And as long as it doesn't meet those other design guidelines, if it's covering an architectural feature, if it's, all of those things are met, then I automatically approve that sign.
But then there's no option for projecting signs
Correct.
under that option.
The reason it's coming before you is because they're only allowed one projecting sign per facade.
Right.
So-
And so the deal is because he wants four.
Right,
Which
he
is why
wants
we're
two on
hearing
each
this.
side. You've got a corner lot there.
So two coming off the front and two coming off the side,
Yeah.
or both on the
Hmm.
same side? Which
Looks
is
like
what-
they're
Well, he
both on the
wants
same
two, but
side.
he
No, we
No.
have
Up to
one
10%
already.
signs on the sky.
We have one
The
already.
Hi-Fi Records
There you
sign
go.
is,
Right, that's what I'm trying to understand.
So
So
he
we're not
wants
talking about the front, just the
two on the
Well,
side, but he wants
He
two.
is asking for another one on the front. Is that not correct?
Yes,
And
he's
then-
asking for a total of four on the building,
Right.
two on the front facing South Main or North Main Street, and two facing
side.
Court Square.
That's what I thought.
oh,
The one on the side would be the ones up here in this white area. Is that what he's saying?
The two that he's proposing on Court Square are these yellow lines
Okay.
here and
Right.
here. And then on this side, something along this, closer to Court Square on the North Main Street side, because there's already a hi-fi projecting sign further up North Main on that building.
All right, so at the front of that building, there would be Hi-Fi Records and then his new sign. And then on the side of the Court Square, there'd be two more.
Correct.
For me, the projection signs allowed the building to stay more architecturally intact than putting flat signs on the side of the building which cover up. There's no necessarily architectural features as much as covering up the look of the building. So for me, and it also fits more into what the building would maybe have had during that time period. So I think if between the two types of signs, I think the projection sign fits much better with the architectural structure of the building.
I agree.
I'd like to add too, as his tenants move in and out, if they do the wall mounted sign, he's going to change these signs, there's more likelihood of damage to the building.
Well, no, because the
It'll be like
the
a,
projection stays the same.
I know.
It's the
I
hang.
know. He'll just take that sign off and hang it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To do in
Oh,
the
you're
red
saying doing the
squares,
other.
as
Yes,
he
correct.
changes it in and out, that brick's going to get damaged. I mean, it's
That's
not young brick.
so Alexa, at each projection frame, there will be two signs per, is that, or just one?
I think they would need to meet the size requirements for the projecting sign, which I think is a maximum display area of 8 square feet.
Right.
So however that's distributed, if that's or if that's 1 2x4 foot sign, or if that's 2, I can't do that. If that's 2 split up square feet in terms of 8 square feet.
But you'd almost have to have individual signs in case one
Yeah,
business moves out, it can be.
His
Yeah.
request or
Removed.
his statement in the second paragraph says each arm will be able to hold up to 2 pounds. Thereby allowing each upstairs suite a sign along that facade.
So these side on Court Square are servicing the upstairs offices or the upstairs businesses.
That's
is that-
correct.
Okay.
So are there guidelines that we have that govern the width and length of the hanging signs?
So the guidelines for projecting signs in our development ordinance say a maximum square foot of 8 square feet per display surface. So that's a combined total for,
Combined total?
yes,
So if he were to hang 2 signs there, those 2 signs would have
meet
to
the
be,
whole-
yes.
to fit that criteria.
Let me ask you another question. He at one time had indicated a mural going in that white
That
square.
white space, yeah.
Do you know if he is still planning that?
I don't have any additional
Okay.
information about that. I think that's a great question, considering if you put that statement about whether there could be a sign, wall sign on that location, a wall sign and a mural are kind of interchangeable in our development ordinance.
Well, if the signs hang where, the one sign hangs where it is marked in that finished off square there, and that's a mural, that seems a little,
I think you have to take it in terms of what's the application
What's
says
before
before
us.
you and versus
Right.
thinking through what might be.
I think in one of his statements, he did mention something about a mural in one of our
It's
written
in
documents.
the first,
In the first,
Your first-
first.
You know,
right.
I think that's a cliffhanger for us. If we go along with the hanging signs, that lets us open up ourselves to the painted murals and stuff like that, and I wouldn't vote for that.
So within what the staff is suggesting or giving us the information, they state that if we do the projection signs, that we also can put in that that takes care of the signage and no flat signs are allowed. Is that correct?
If you
I
just,
might not have said it exactly right.
if you just approve the additional projecting signs, that doesn't preclude him from requesting as a minor COA the wall sign, which is, so you would have to make that a condition of approval of the projecting signs if
Correct.
that's your intention.
Because otherwise it would be not come to us as a application. You could
Right,
just
and
be
so
able
then
to
we
approve
could
it.
have the signs
Right.
that we're talking
And
about.
then we'd have both.
Right.
Lots of
However, he did state in his application that that's not his intention to do both.
Sure.
And if it was a mural, for example, it would come back before you as
As
a
a
sign,
COA.
because I don't know that, like we've done in previous mural cases, that's not something staff is approving. It's something that would come before you.
Are there any other questions of the staff?
I understand the benefit to having the projecting sign over the wall sign. My only hesitation is not knowing what the wall sign is going to look like.
True.
Does anybody
We
else have that
we
concern?
haven't, I mean, we were projecting a thought, but
Right.
he has a projection sign that he's already done.
Used as an example, sure.
So that is an example, two of what he's already done. So we do somewhat have examples, and he has shown us examples of what he's thinking.
I think we got a unique situation in this building being on the corner. And to protect the architect of the buildings, the hanging sign would be more appropriate than the signs that we have on the other buildings along Main Street. And in order to protect the integrity of the building, I wouldn't want us approving these hanging signs to affect anything else. He'd have to come back with another COA to get that done, because I can see sooner or later that Muriel's will come right back to us and say, well, you did this during that and something during something else. And I would just, if we can approve the hanging signs on the side here for his, and then for the main street area, I think it would benefit the integrity of the building. But any other thing he does to the building is going to have to come through a COA, and I don't know how to- I don't
You
know-
want to make
I don't know how you'd get by it, but you're saying you may have to prove something in a minor. How would we get by with you not proving a minor?
So I'm confused.
Okay.
I approve all minor comes just through staff level approval.
but we can say within what we are doing that he cannot, that these constitute the signs that will be
Right.
placed on the building and no other signs will be placed on it.
And we will incorporate a condition.
That's
that
right,
it's- yes.
incorporated condition. So is there any other discussion? Does someone have a motion?
Say it.
That we agree on this.
If you would, we thought of a recommendation in terms of allowing for all wall signs on this specific building to come back before you so that you can determine all this other stuff about wall signs in a future date. You could say that we approve or if that's your intention, to approve the projecting signs with the condition that all wall signs on this particular building come back before this commission as a major COA.
Okay.
And also the number of signs that you're approving and per facade.
So we're approving 2, 4, is it gonna be 6?
4.
It'd be 4 total if you're approving that many. You can also change the number as you see fit.
Wait a minute, though.
How is it
wasn't
4?
Wasn't it 4 on the side and 2 on the front?
No, 2 on the front, 2 on the side. It's 4 for the building.
Yes.
I thought he
He's-
was.
No,
Yeah.
that's
I-
what it is. Or that's what we can
Two
propose
projecting
to.
sign arms
you
along
want
the
to.
southern facade is all it says.
But wasn't
With
there
2
some
signs
discussion
per
about
arm.
one on the
Oh,
front?
you're talking
Oh,
about
okay.
the hanging.
Yes.
We're talking about the projection. So
So
there
2
can only be
projection arms.
2 projection arms.
Okay, but. 4
You're
signs.
thinking, yes, you're thinking, you're right.
Okay.
So it's 2 projection arms on each side of the building.
Of the building.
That's what we're
It says
talking
up to
about.
2 panels. so
Well,
it's-
that's what we,
That's
where we
my
got
confusion came in.
confused.
Okay. So 2 signs per arm.
Yes.
Right.
So like, for instance, where that Feel Better Yoga is hanging, there could be a second one. hanging
Yeah.
on
That's correct.
But for consistency,
had
since
that
we're
one.
only talking about the projecting sign itself versus the number of signs on that arm, if we
Yes.
keep it in that language of 2
2
per,
projecting arms.
On the court square side.
on the
That would
court
be-
square.
It would be 2 projection signs on each side of the building.
Okay.
So you,
Okay.
On the court
Of
square
the southern
side.
facade.
what we're talking about. 2 projection signs on each side of the building. Because there's already one on the front side, and so they could add another one, and then there would be 2 on the other side. So it's 4 projection signs for this building, 2 to the front, 2 to the side. That's correct. Do I have a motion?
Before we get to that,
Okay.
he did make an entry here about the possibility of the Volt Salon wanting a projecting sign. Do we
They would
have,
have to,
that would have to come before us as a separate application? That is not necessarily looped in with this.
no.
That would be one of the
That would be one of the
One of the
projection
panels.
signs.
signs that you approve tonight. if
Right.
you
It would
do
be.
so.
Yes.
Okay, because we have no idea what that's going to look like. Can we
No.
add a condition that it conform with the Hi-Fi record sign?
What
Mm,
do you mean by conform with?
Yeah, I think you're getting into muddy water when you start doing that.
I guess what I am thinking, if it's going to be in, because they're side-by-side businesses, are they not?
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
So Hi-Fi Records has a really nice looking sign there on the corner. I assume Volt would probably use the same placement at their corner on that far end.
So
If they go
I guess
by what's on the
it's
They
door.
probably wouldn't because of the sign that's projecting, because it's close to this side. But we don't know that, so we can't really,
If it goes by
talk
what's
about
on the
that.
door, it would match up with the already on their door.
I think we're
If
getting,
they
I
were
think
to
we're
use a
getting
similar
beyond what
style.
we're wanting to talk about, and that is that we have,
So right now,
4
we're just
signs to-
allowing that there can be a sign
That's
there,
correct.
but
We're just
not
allowing.
approving any content. Or not content, any design.
that's correct. We don't know what the design would be. We're just approving whether we can have
Whether it can
projection
have-
signs on this building.
And just a reminder, I know we've talked about this previously, but the content of the sign itself, the
Can't be.
design cannot be reviewed to say we like this sign and we don't like this
Sure.
sign. It's based on
design.
size. It can
And
be based on
Its conformity to.
the
guidelines.
conformity with the guidelines. But within the box, we can't comment on that.
Okay, is there anything else? Is there a motion that I can get from y'all?
Gary, you feel confident
I don't
proposing?
know really how to put it down, but can you present it?
I'll try.
Mhm.
So I'm going to make a motion that we approve
For
the
CO,
the
put the
COA
COA.
1902 encompassing 2 projecting sign arms along the southern facade of Court Square.
well, you
And-
left out the front.
Oh, and the front. Okay, so 3 projecting sign arms then?
Or because they already
4.
have one.
We're approving one that's already there.
Oh, gotcha. Because Hi-Fi Records is already there.
Well, they're allowed one, so should
So
the
what- so
motion
the-
be just two additional? It probably needs to be 2 additional projection signs because they're allowed 2, right? 1 on each side. So it should be that we shouldn't be talking about 4. I'm sorry, I confused y'all. We should be talking about 2 projection signs for additional projection signs on each wall.
On the southern facade.
Wait a minute.
Read it right,
You-
sir.
You also need, you're making it too hard.
Right.
Obviously.
Okay, so all you need to do, if you want to have 2 extending signs on both sides of that building, on the south side and the Main Street side, that's simply all you need to say, okay? Just make it very clean cut, because if you start doing in addition to, then there's going to be at some point another sign, there's going to be another building. It's going to allow you to get that confused about what additional you did.
Okay,
So keep it clean, okay? If you want 2 on one side and then 2 on the other, keep your motion clean. All right. You've also mentioned something about if you do that, you don't want to allow the wall signs, or the wall signs must come back to you as major COAs. If you're going to say that, then you're going to put that in your motion as well. Okay? If that's what you want to do.
So your motion with conditions.
Are we in agreement on that?
yes.
Okay, so the motion is to approve COA 1902 to allow 4 projecting sign arms on the
Right.
Scott building. Is this-
2 on the
2 on the front, 2 on the side, with the condition that any future wall signs have to come before the HRC as a major COA.
Well
Okay.
done.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Would the staff reread that, please?
So Carly would like to make a motion to approve the COA 1902 with a total of 4 projecting signs, 2 along the southern facade and 2 along North Main Street, with the condition that all future wall signs on the Scott building have to be as major COAs.
Okay.
Require a major COA.
Require a major
Major
COA.
COA.
Yes.
All right. Is there second to that? Oh, we seconded it. Okay, let's all vote.
Elaine did,
Is
yes.
there, may I have the 4s, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? And I
I'm
I
sorry,
was
I'm
aye.
4.
Okay. So it's unanimous. It's passed. Thank you. Okay. We will now go to COA 1904, the Grand Presbyterian Church sign. Do any commission members have any conflict of interest to disclose?
No.
Has anyone on the commission had any ex parte communication about this case?
No.
Okay. So I ask that all speakers signed up to provide testimonies on COA 1904. come to the front to be sworn in. This is done to ensure that only facts of evidence pertaining to this item are presented to the commission. Opinion or their testimony may not be entered as evidence and will not be permitted by me so as not to violate the applicant's due process rights.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So may I have the staff report, please?
So the applicant is requesting approval of a COA for a freestanding sign. All freestanding signs must be located, okay. This request is coming before the commission as a major COA because the applicant would like permission to exceed the height restriction for a property zoned OI. The height is limited by the development ordinance to 10 feet, which is beyond staff authority to exceed, but within the purview of the HRC as this is within your district. In terms of the special significance of the property, the Grand Presbyterian Church is circa 1855 and additional interior remodels in the 1950s. It's a pivotal building from the historic inventory that's part of the National Register. It's a deeply set in a facing West Hardin Street. It's a fine cruciform sanctuary of Gothic-inspired design whose varied exterior detailing is enriched by use of two types of red brick, terracotta, and rusticated stone. The present sanctuary was produced by a complete remodeling and expansion during 1897 to 1909 of the congregation's second church, which had been erected in 1855. The remodeling and expansion were designed by architect Charles Reed of Richmond, Virginia. The principal element of the church's main facade is the square two-stage castellated tower, which is trimmed by a buttress capped with rusticated stone. A smooth surface glazed brick seen on the tower and are filled with stained glass installed under Reed's direction. There is a gabled roof vestibule at the eastern end. Both are trimmed buttresses capped by rusticated stone. The vestibule gable is decorated with small squares of molded terracotta set in a checkerboard pattern. The interior of the sanctuary underwent major remodeling during the 1950s, but retains the striking large wooden brackets resting on stone corbels that were undoubtedly among the most distinct features of Reed's design. And I say all of this just to tell you what the specific elements of architectural importance are on the building itself, not that it's necessarily related to the grounds of the church that's being discussed tonight.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to say all the specific, there is an exemption for churches in our development ordinance. They're allowed 2 freestanding signs per zoning lot, but each sign cannot exceed 6 feet in height. So that exemption doesn't work for this particular request. So I did want to point that out. And our development ordinance specifically says OI maximum feet is 10. And the requested sign is 12, I believe.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public signed up to provide testimony evidence? Each person will be called to the podium one at a time to address the commission. So whoever wants to come first. If you'll state your name and address.
Clark Newland, 713 Roxborough Street in Hall River.
Okay.
I'm not from Graham.
Okay, thank you.
I'm a lifelong member of the Grand Presbyterian Church, though. I didn't know a cross was considered a sign of Christianity, though. I don't know whether any of y'all are familiar with this saying or not. We got the cart before the horse. Well, that's what happened to us. we were not aware that we had to come through this process. Our fountain has leaked for years, and it was just like putting money down a rat hole. We tried to fix it on different occasions, and it just got to the place we need to cut it off. So then we've got a planter out there on the lower level, and the other level is the pool, the fountain area. What are we going to do with it? Our property committee came up with the idea, let's put a cross in the center of it. And then around the base, around the inside there, instead of filling it with water, that's kind of phase 2, and we're still not positive what we're going to do. It may become a planter also, but our deal was to put the cross in the center. And it's like she said, it's 12 feet tall and 8 feet wide. The beams are 8 by 12 inches. It's a massive cross. A metal artist in Hillsboro designed it and made it for us. $12,000. It's going to be given to the church by a church family, if all this works out. And like I said, our property committee, and I'm chairman, I'm co-chairman of it, we were not aware of what we needed to do first. So we're here tonight asking your blessing to approve this cross. It's made out of a steel that will age. I mean, this is not like a 4x4 thing. Like I said, it's 12 inches by 8 inches. The beams are the cross beam and the other one. It will age. It's kind of patinaed right now. It doesn't look like a gray piece of steel. It looks like between brown and bronze. There's no sheen to it. It's a dull finish, and it will remain that way because of the weathered look to it. I think it will enhance our property as well as the city of Graham. We're not going to do anything to pull our property down or the city. We want to do it with good taste, and that's what we think we've done. So, if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions?
Got one question. On this project, is there going to be any kind of message on it, like
No, sir.
writing
No,
or
sir.
anything like that?
No, sir.
Could be no
Absolutely
message.
not. If you want, the cross is just as it is. It's sitting on the trailer back of the church. now.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it here.
Yeah,
But
there's nothing
it's
on it.
nothing, no communications of
No, sir.
anything. So,
It will be lit. We have lights in that fountain from the water being in there. We have lights that we will use. We'll probably change the fixtures to an LED type
I
light.
understand.
But there will be no signage on it or inscription at all.
I don't know. LED light, I'm not sure. Is that, if he gets to that before I might be getting the cart before the horse, but if it's approved, can he put a?
Well, the
LED?
lights are already there. We just changed the bulb.
Okay.
And
You can have front light. You can't have inside light.
yeah, I was just gonna say it's not internally illuminated.
Okay.
No,
Right.
this thing is sealed up. It's welded up. The lights would be from the
Right.
down, shining up.
Right. I know.
And it wouldn't be like a spotlight,
Right.
it's soft lighting.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Would it not be possible to take this back to the artist, or the artist come there and cut it down to acceptable?
No, ma'am,
size?
because it's made proportionally, you can't have a short, it's got to be in proportion across
Yeah,
the crossbar. And really, it's not like it's sitting out here on the side of the street. This thing is back off, well, you know where the fountain is. It's going to be visible. We've got a sign that's yay tall. Well, it's going to be behind that. If you're sitting at the stoplight, for example, at that intersection, I think it's going to look really nice, look past that cross to the church. So I don't think the height will present a problem.
Let me ask you this. How is it anchored? Is it on a platform?
We got a base,
Structure?
the bottom of that second level was concrete. We have anchored a base in that concrete. The cross will sit on that base, which is about that tall.
Okay,
From, from the rowlock around the brick, the cross is actually going to be sitting down yay far.
about a foot or so?
Yes, maybe not quite a foot, but the rowlock is the very top of that wall, and it's going to be down just a little. Really, so you can't walk up there and see what's holding it.
Right.
You still just see the cross.
So that would shorten it to what, about 11 feet? Theoretically?
Well,
From the ground.
Yeah,
we had to put a base in there to mount it. This thing weighs about 400 pounds, 350 to 400 pounds. It's nothing shabby about it. It's a man size. So, and another thing, it had to be built strong enough to, so if a heavy wind or something, it's not going to fall over. It's anchored in that concrete. This base is, and then the cross is going to be anchored to the base.
Did you mention that at some point you are considering a water feature around it, or you are not? I wasn't clear on
We
that.
have talked with Aquascapes, which is south of Graham here.
No, we're there.
And if we do anything, it'll be with them. Their idea was to get the cross in there and then see what they offer. We're not going to fill that bottom back up with water. That won't work. We would go to some type of recirculating type fountain spurting up, or, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it's not going to be a pool again.
Outstanding water.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
What's the maintenance like on something like this?
Very little maintenance on the cross. It's sitting out there to weather. And so it's, we don't have to polish it every year or anything like that. So it's, once you put it up there, the nature takes over.
Any other questions? Is there, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak? Please.
He's a cleanup back.
Griffin McClure, 2160 Waterside Circle, apartment 202, Graham, North Carolina. Also lifelong member of Graham Presbyterian Church, and known Clark all my life. But Clark pretty much covered it. But I did want to point out two things, is that this commission interprets nuance in the different development ordinances. And I think the fact that this is about 80 feet from either street, but by the letter of the law, visible and impressionable from the street, the current height restrictions are made for on street. And if removed back 80 feet, I think with determining and dictating, we're understanding the nuance of what that ordinance is designed to be. I think that should be considered. And I think that the idea that it is more of a sculpture without a message, there's nuance in the way the sign definition is written too, and it could be a device. Let's see. It could be a figure, which I think this is a figure, but it's by which anything is made known, such as the designation of an individual, a firm, an association, a profession, a business, a commodity, or product. I'm not sure if this is an advertisement for an association when we look at it. I consider it more of a sculpture in the way that a particular piece of art could be an endorsement of an idea or a behavior. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions of Griffin? Okay, thank you, Griffin. Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to say something. I've studied this right strong since we got this. And this sign or artwork, I prefer it to present I consider it artwork. It represents a centerpiece for a garden at the corner of Main and Hardin Street. This is an art centerpiece in an existing garden, and the garden is visited by the public as an art on the grounds, as it would be at the Art Center, Children's Museum. This place is a public place for all ages can meet and reflect on Easter, graduations, proms, holidays, weddings, and family photos. I've noticed during the summer, I mean, I've been by there before I guess I even thought about doing it. And you can see people coming up at proms and taking pictures in this area. It appears it's already been built, and that's nothing new to us. This piece appears to fit well in the dimensions of the garden, and I'm sure a lot of thought was put into the size needed for this garden piece. This piece will enhance the image of the district and the property in which it is located. In my opinion, I think we ought to approve it.
If you want to make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve COA 1904 as a variance.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a second. Staff, would you say
I'm
the
sorry, who was
motion?
the second?
I second.
Motion was to approve the application COA 1904, that it was fitting with the design guidelines and scale, and that they would like to approve the motion or approve.
Well, I
Okay.
think the motion was to approve the size, even though it did not conform.
Right.
Okay.
Guidelines.
Right.
I think that's a more
So-
correct.
Their motion was to approve this
Cross
and
as a
then was-
variance to the existing size guidelines. Right, Jerry? Is that your?
Yeah, I guess you could say that this piece will enhance the image of the district, which is located, in which it is located, and I approve a variance. I mean, what, you can't say that? I mean, I
No.
make a motion.
You need to be very clear about the
Yeah,
motion
but-
and what is 1902, what has been asked for. And you've been asked to vote on a variance of the
Right,
cross size,
Right.
period.
right,
Right.
Okay? Be very
That's fine.
clear and be very simple
Okay.
about your motion.
okay.
Okay?
They don't have the authority to approve the variance, so they
Okay.
can approve just COA 1904 as presented.
So just approve,
1904, and I think that's
don't
some,
add everything else to it.
okay.
You're there to do the very basic of what it says.
Can I ask a question at this point before we go forward, or no, we're done? Okay, never mind.
I think you have a motion and a second, and you can now have
Okay, and
discussion.
we can now that they are
Oh,
straightened
Linda,
out.
thank
Okay.
you. My question is, does this set any kind of a precedent for future
No.
signs? Good, that's all I need to know.
I have another comment. I'm a member of this church, though I see some eye rolling, but anyway, do I need to recuse myself from the vote?
You are past that point.
You sure will.
You should have done that when he asked if you have any conflict.
Well, I know, but it,
Ex parte communication.
I know.
Do you know anything about this project at all? Did you hear anything about the project?
No.
You're fine. Please continue.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where's my? Okay, we will go on to the window sign percentage tax amendment. If staff could go over that, please.
So a couple of things. I put in the packet 2 options, and I thought it would be a good idea and something that you guys requested at the last meeting to have some visuals. So if possible, after I explain both of the options, we could take a field trip to the hallway. We've got it marked out in tape so you have a realistic visual of what each of those
area we're talking about.
scenarios would look like. So option A is a window, that window signs are encouraged. However, window signs shall be limited to 1 per facade up to 10% of the window assembly, not to exceed a total of 15 square feet, and we'll see what that looks like. And then option B would be window signs are encouraged. They shall not exceed 15% of the window to which they will be affixed, limited to 1 sign per facade per business. And then I also wanted to provide a brief quote from a book that is planning related. It's called Death and Life of Great American Cities. It's kind of a planning perspective of having eyes on the street, so to speak, and it pertains to this particular question. The activity generated by people on errands or people aiming for food or drink itself is an attraction to still other people. People watch other people. There are great street watchers and sidewalk gardens if present in sufficient number. So just speaking to being able to see other people is a safety feature in terms of our streetscape. So those are some thoughts, but if you would like to go on a little field trip, we can go check that.
Just because we're recording it, if we could do like just half of you so you don't communicate about it and make a decision while you're there.
Okay.
Sorry.
This half go, this half stay.
I'm just gonna
Did-
say stand.
Do you want to speak on this item, perhaps? Okay, I don't know if you'd like to. do that
Let's
before.
have him look at it first and then he can speak. And then people have in their mind what you're talking about.
All right, I'll be right back and we'll grab the next group. All right, I'll lead the way. You're welcome to join us.
The, where she had the tape.
On the wall?
Yeah.
Mhm. Online, this is nothing in quasi-judicial training. Do I have anything on the agenda?
Another group that wants to come through?
Sure.
Sucker one
These
move.
chairs, I know, they weigh a ton.
Takes two people to move them.
Councilman Kimmery, would you like to join us or you're good? Okay.
Drove the lead to Chapel today. In the train,
You drove what?
my golf cart. And when I got back, it had 40% charge. When you're right, but I plugged it in before I walked over here. Now, look,
You need a new phone.
100%. Looks like it's on this side. It's got the bar thing. But, so, that's probably 7 miles. Or no, we drove 5,000 miles on $4 worth of electricity.
You know, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Every now and then you need to walk in the rain. But definitely, most of the time when I walk out to go to the car, I'm picking a frame between rain events and revel. Today it was gorgeous.
I know, right?
So glad it's not raining.
Me too.
I can't imagine the people that are doing construction projects like the apartments or the spec building out structures where they've got the whole site open at one time. Will grass grow on mud when it rains this bad, or is it just all walk off? Yeah. I guess in your field, if it's super flat, you're okay, but most of the construction sites that we see that are still developing, they didn't develop before because the land is like this, right? Like Mr. Christmas property. How's that solar light working out there at Greenway Park?
They still were after I retired. I haven't checked on it recently. It is a potent ticket. That's the one challenge of technology. The technology will increase and they will stay longer than they do now.
Yeah. Even if they only
That
last
saves
every
us
5 years.
a lot of money.
Yeah, Duke was gonna clear cut both sides of that whole creek. So.
And then put up something that we got charged for.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we should pay, it's already paid for itself by that.
So I was looking at that. I think I've read the paper for that. That was a great alternative. And it was still going every once in a while. The Kel has to reset them.
Like the lightning storm hits it or something.
Something just, flicks them off. So we have to, it gets messed up. The solar part of it, or the sensor part of it gets messed up to know if it's light or day.
Yeah.
These days.
Night or day. And so you have to, and that has to do with storms. So we would just send Tel over there every once in a while and go check. Of course, what works even better than that is when the neighbors call you the next morning and go, the light didn't work.
Yeah, right. You train them to help you out.
That's right. So they were very helpful in helping us keep up with. Just for the record.
I think it also helped that a cop from Elon moved into that house. Having a police officer parked in the driveway. Glad that we, for the last one, approved the application as presented, rather than getting it and trying to determine what should or shouldn't come before them. Because if they get started, that's a piece of art that doesn't need them for us. And I don't know if you know, there's a, Missouri,
Coming too complicated.
where they did a statue for safety on the corner of the courthouse because they have things in Ten Commandments they approved on the inside. So that always scares me. But the way we did it, we
Yeah,
did it versus saying, no, this is exactly should be coming for us. We need to approve it all the way for like.
We talked about being very simple, staying very basic, being very simple. Don't get into all the other. Excuse me.
Bob will remove the so helping God application.
Oh,
I mean, it's
Putting
just,
in,
I don't know what made him.
That's the only thing we have to remove.
do you swear? or
finally reach a point that, you just gotta do something.
Bob removed that.
Testimony.
Bob removed the last
Yeah,
one.
We get older,
sure.
Is that what is current?
This is,
As a,
that's what we did for the special use permit that came before y'all last week.
So help you God.
Do you swear? No, right, it was just, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
So you're taking out the testimony you're about to
It
give.
just doesn't, we don't burn it as quickly.
Oh,
And
my Lord,
I
no.
tell you one thing,
Testimony you're about to give is,
this is still being,
Is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
well, I haven't still doing it. They were gonna do a
sorry,
pilot
would you read that?
But
Do
it
you
would-
swear or
it would
affirm the testimony
eliminate-
you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I think breakfast at 5,
Take out, so help you God.
driving for 40 minutes or so.
Is that against the law now?
Yes.
Well, I think the idea is that there would be individuals who may come before us, because the reason it says swear or affirm is because some people won't
Sit
swear,
and-
right?
Well, we eat out.
Can only affirm that they would do something. I think it's quicker. But then the so help you God could be biased against an individual who would otherwise have a right to present something.
Gosh, yes, I may affirm. Come for less. I've never had anybody like say anything, and he said, I affirm.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, they won't put their hand on the Bible.
Although I think you're supposed to.
Oh, I do both. I go out and I work at home.
Which
Raise
left
your right
hand on
hand.
the Bible.
I think they did it backwards. It was close enough.
Yeah, they did it. They must be redoing her tape. They're like, oh, we don't like that.
No, I'm sure.
Well, so I
no.
found that being home is
Really?
than being out.
They already done the webinar. It's on you.
Mm-mm.
We're doing a webinar tonight.
That they were doing the webinar for just discussing the webinar.
Oh, so they,
I didn't see anything else about the webinar.
I didn't know. I meant to ask her.
So the training and webinar, but it doesn't say how long it is or what it is. We had talked about some more. I was hoping we would do those at times when we don't have a very heavy agenda.
Oh, I don't know. I just,
I didn't know if they had done one last month.
Yeah, we still wouldn't do it. It was a couple of months ago that we didn't really have anything on the agenda that would have been an appropriate time to do training.
It's doing well.
is it?
Yeah, I don't feel any.
Yeah, well, that happened.
Y'all were out there for an hour and 5 minutes.
Then we had to give Carrie an opportunity.
We're anal retention.
October, November, December, January.
Here's just one little nail on the hole. Oh, my.
Well, you know,
I mean,
All right.
right, no shifting.
I think I like option B.
Find your favorite.
For facade. That
I
not
haven't
mean
had any
per
place
window,
my favorite.
per facade?
I tend to.
Limited to one
I do.
window sign
Even
per
though this one's just like-
facade.
Oh, thank you.
I want the facade
What is- how is
defined.
facade?
That's why
Yeah,
I'm
come
like,
on.
We could reconvene here now that everyone's had a look. Is there any other information the staff wants to tell us or needs to relate?
I think there's that, just to reiterate, option A is the window assembly, meaning all window square feet are considered in the percentage that you choose. And option B is for a single window and whatever percentage you choose of that window.
Okay. And do we have someone that wants to speak? Please come forward.
So Chair, Commission, I'm Lee Kimmery. I live at 104 West Elm Street. Talking to some of the business owners around the downtown about this and doing a little bit of research, I actually found that there's another city in North Carolina that's going through a very similar process. And it's kind of interesting. I just wanted to bring it to your attention for your consideration, but they're actually looking at the width of the building to allow for a certain size sign. So they're looking at for every linear foot of the storefront, then you can put 1 square foot of sign for every linear foot or 2 foot. Now, I think 2 foot's a little bit extreme, but 1 foot kind of works in that scenario. I knew this commission at the last meeting had some concerns about the larger storefronts and limiting the larger storefronts. I think we have an 80-foot wide storefront at McClure Furniture, and that would, you know, whether you put a 15 square foot restriction on that, there's a lot of glass there. So the linear foot is kind of interesting. I'm not sure if you want to look at an 80-foot wide storefront and allow 80 square foot of signage, but I like that. And this particular proposal allowed for the restriction in regards to the width on a linear foot basis. So what that does, that eliminates the upstairs. It's just a storefront. And it also allows for more than 1 sign recommended on the windows, obviously, so that you can have, if it was a 15-foot wide storefront, you would get up to 15 square foot of whatever this commission, whatever you guys decide. But I thought it was interesting because it would allow for, a 3x3 sign, and then it would allow for a smaller sign that could be a professional title, or, there's a lot of businesses in the downtown that will put that, or they'll put what it is that they actually do on their storefront as well. There's a private club downtown that actually has on the window sign, they have their logo, and then they have membership required, which is a separate sign at the bottom of the door on the window. So I'd like to just ask that the commission look at perhaps the idea of allowing multiple window signs and not limiting that, but just maybe consider the idea of the width of the building in regards to the size of the sign that you can put on there.
Do you have any questions of Lee?
So if you linear footage and it's X number of feet, because the building is so wide, but it encompasses 2 windows, maybe with the door in the middle, with the width of the building. That means you can have a sign of X number of feet and a sign of X number of feet on both sides.
That depends, that's up to you guys, but
Well,
that was
no.
kind of the idea with the proposal is
I'm
that,
trying to clarify where you're going with this, Lee, is
Yeah.
that would be how maybe this plays out if this is an option. Let's just say it's option C for the sake of argument. So conceivably, you could have signs on both sides of the windows for one business.
you could, as long as, you could limit how much sign, you could say you get 15 square foot regardless with a 15-foot wide storefront. You could have 3 storefronts on a 45-foot wide building. So each storefront could get a certain percentage, and they could put, say multiple signs, but say 1 larger sign, professional title sign, something to that extent. And with that being said, they were really hammering that out as well. And there was some issues that came up in regards to how wide a wide building and how much signage are we going to allow for a building that's much wider? That was something, it was a dilemma. So it doesn't seem to be a real good answer to this. It just seems to be one that,
And see where that might be.
yeah, I just wanted to bring forth for your consideration. Sure.
And staff did look at, I think it's Wilmington's.
It is Wilmington.
Sign ordinance or proposal for X number of square foot per linear foot of storefront. He did identify the larger problem with that. One potential way around larger storefronts is to have a cap with a maximum of whatever the maximum square feet you'd like to promote or prohibit past that. So that's a potential solution to the storefronts that have multiples. When I did the math on say there was a 5 square foot or 5 linear feet per window, so that's 10 square feet, plus a door, another 4 feet or so.
Yeah.
It does start to get larger, especially their language talked about 2 square feet
I know, I see
per
that, yes.
linear foot. So when you multiply that out, that's significantly larger, but
I didn't think 2 foot for a linear foot, 2 square foot of signage for every 1 foot of linear width was realistic. That seemed to be very large to me.
But anyway, so that's another alternative. We looked at the 2 and we were like, that's bigger than what's being proposed.
Yes.
But it would be a lot easier for regulation purposes. I just measured out the front of the
That's it.
building and say, okay, you are allowed X number of square feet.
Yeah, you could say, for a 15-foot wide building, you're up to 15 square foot for this particular storefront. Not for up here, because that's not a storefront if it's residential or offices, just the storefront. So,
But what if you got a 15-foot wide building with a smaller window? Now you've just allowed them to fill the whole window up with signage?
well, potentially, I guess you could look at it that way. It all depends on how much glass, but typically your storefronts will have a lot of glass. It's ironic that you were looking at the Scott building and the side that was going to give access to the upstairs had no windows, except for the upstairs.
Right.
So that's a unique situation there in itself. But you could consider that to be offices. You would still, allow wall signs. Well, that particular building you won't without your approval, but
So then what we're talking about is only window signs. No, doesn't impact any other type of signage like what we approved earlier. Just window signs.
Yes.
So the Scott building does not come into play in that scenario. Oh, that's-
The downstairs.
On the front.
Well,
it
in the
does.
front, but on the side where we were talking, or anyway.
Well, he did, sorry, you did bring up a interesting comment about such where you have the sign, but then you have a small piece down here, which got me thinking, which I need to clarify, but if you had where you had the size of the sign that you're allowed, and that is the size that they could do, but you could have 2 pieces of it, would that be allowed?
So I think that would be in how you write the language. So you could say a total square foot of 15 square feet is your maximum, but it can be split between 2. Or you could change the language and say it must be 1 sign on 1 window. It's
Okay.
completely up to you as to how you want to
I
write.
mean, he did bring up an interesting idea, thought process for me. I hadn't thought of that. Okay.
If it's small enough that you can't read it from the right of way, though, I'm not sure if it counts as a sign.
yeah.
So like if you're talking about your professional names, that kind of thing,
Mhm.
in terms of the language for our sign ordinance, it doesn't count as a sign.
Oh,
But
okay.
there would be very few places though in downtown that would apply.
I just mean like if it was a doctor's office and they want to say
Sure.
doctor so-and-so.
Because if you're
Our
standing on the
laws.
sidewalk, that would be the public right of way.
I guess that's true also.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of, there's some that's outside of the public right of way in the downtown. But I
Is
just
it-
noticed that a lot of people do have a professional title sometimes on the business, or the businesses will have what they kind of specialize in, which
A
gives me-
license number.
Well, especially all the attorney's offices that we have downtown.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it possible to incorporate the linear footage for the width of a building and say something like not to exceed 15% or whatever?
Yes,
Make it a combination
Mhm.
text.
yes, you could do that.
I think if we're going to consider this, I think that might be smart to do because we do want to keep a handle on this.
The question would become, where do you want to set that line and how did you determine that number? Is my
Yes,
only-
but I mean, just the concept, is this something that can be a combined formula?
Yes.
I have something to share about the window sign. the type of font that will be used, it can get a little tacky sometimes. It just depends on what the business owner is asking for. And we have to be careful about that. So we need to take that in consideration, the type of font. You do know what I mean, okay? So we have to be considerate of that. We want to keep things looking in order and decent and with the historical boundaries.
Absolutely.
So we have to think in terms of that. We may have somebody with a business that's sort of artsy and want to go a little wild. We need to think about those paintings and the type of font that they may use. So that's just an opinion that I have.
Is there any other questions of Lee? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, if you want.
Please.
I'm not aware of any pending applications for these, and so I applaud you guys to be thinking about this at a time when you can take as much time as you need to discuss it and figure out what actually works. And I think that what Mr. Kimry recommended sounds like it could work very well downtown. But what I would encourage you to do is along the lines of what Commissioner Murin said, and go ahead and look at the character of the downtown as it exists today. Determine which ones you think fit with that and come back and let us know next month, and then we'll draft an ordinance that matches that. And my recommendation would be go downtown and find a sign that you feel like if it was any bigger, it wouldn't fit, but it fits as it is there. And also find one that you think is too big downtown and let us know that, and that'll be our threshold. Well, we want to make sure that we have it a little bit smaller than this, but that's just okay. And if you do that, then we can craft that ordinance in such a way that those are minor certificates of appropriateness that staff can approve with whatever they come in with. If it's bigger than that, it would come before y'all, and you would have to say, you know, we researched this, we did what we feel like is right for the downtown, and we think that this is a bridge too far. But if you want to back it up just a little bit, you could be okay if you did this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That's a great idea. It's
Okay.
hard for us, at least for me anyway, looking at these drawings, and they're helpful, but you can't really see it in real world. And how it would look out there in the real world. So I think that's a great suggestion.
So does someone want to make a motion to table? Is that right? Make a motion to table?
I'll make a motion that we table this decision on the revised window sign percentage text amendment until the April meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion?
Would this be pending further research by the commission?
Yes.
Yes.
Providing staff those recommendations?
Yes.
Do you want to repeat the motion?
The motion was
Uh,
to,
The motion is to table the decision on revising the window sign percentage text amendment until the April meeting so that the commission members have the opportunity to do some real world research in the downtown area.
Okay. And the second, do you?
I second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. Thank you very much. Lost my- Okay, if we could have Melody, City Council Representative Melody Wiggins.
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay, well,
Still area, have a lovely night.
thank you very much. Okay. Then staff with the quasi judicial training.
did you want to speak on small area plan?
Melody, do you want me to speak on this fire?
Yeah, you can have my 3 minutes.
3.
Members of the commission, I am excited to tell you guys about an event that a couple of you have been working on. It is the small area plan that the council has funded for the downtown. As most of you are already aware, we met last month, and that event happened in the cooperative building. There were stakeholder meetings with a whole slew of people, including membership that was appointed by the commission to meet with them. And the consultant should be coming back, well, hopefully, they are paid to come back the first week of April, in which case they will be working in the Trailhead Church space just north of the cinema. And you're welcome to stop in and look over their shoulders, see what they're sketching out and whatnot. If you're interested, it'll be April, I can't remember if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatnot, but it's the first Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in April. There will be a couple more stakeholder meetings there. They're going to meet with Alamance County. They're going to meet with NCDOT. And then we had a few downtown business owners that were out of town when they came the first time. But we've had great success in having citizen involvement in that. There was an event that happened at Beer Co. where there were approximately 50 people that came and voted on different ideas that they liked. The consultant has gone back and they've got a long list that has everything from get rid of the trucks to make the urban canopy downtown be a continuous green sheet from the interstate up to Burlington. So I assume that they'll be somewhere in the middle on everything, but I look forward to having them come back and start to do some of the design work, and encourage you, if there's anything that you feel like they need to hear, to shoot Alexa or myself an email and we'll get it into them. Thank you.
Thank you. So the quasi-judicial training.
So the last item on the agenda was the quasi-judicial training, which I sent out. I wondered if anyone had a chance to watch that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the link worked and everyone was able to access that. Were there any questions from people about what a quasi-judicial training was, or anything that came up in watching that you feel like you need more clarification on? No? Okay. We'll continue to do training types of activities. The next one in our work plan is scheduled for architectural detailing, so discussing architectural features and providing additional information specific to our downtown, so you have a sense of the styles that are in our downtown and what features are important on those buildings. And so that's our next one, and that will likely be a presentation in the council or in the chambers here at our next meeting.
So that's on the agenda for April?
Yes, okay. That's going to be on April's agenda. In terms of the other professional development that we discussed in the work plan, there are a number of walking tours that are available coming up in April. I'll send that out and are in communications with a list of those dates. If you guys want to come to one of those or would like as a group to go to one of those, let me know which dates work for you and I'll try to organize a group of us to go so that we can see. There's a number in Greensboro. The Greensboro ones are the ones that I've seen more frequently occurring. There's some in Chapel Hill around Christmas time, but April, Greensboro has a few. They're typically neighborhood settings, so it's slightly different from our business district here. So there's not as much of a parallel there, but if we're considering in the future to have the North Main Street program, it might be worthwhile to see a neighborhood district in comparison to what we currently have. Right. So I'll send those, that list out of tours. There's a newsletter article that in our CityGram for this month to make people aware of the commission if there's any interest in volunteering on the board while we don't have any seats available currently. We always want to start building that pipeline of individuals in the event someone wants to drop off the commission or has other responsibilities. when they come off or their re-upping schedule comes up. So just to make you aware that that was going to go out in this next city newsletter. And then we had discussed in the work plan also to look at facade grant guidelines and revising that. If you have any recommendations on the language or changes you'd like to see made to that language, we had kind of back and forth over whether we would like kind of a, I want to say, similar to what we did with the Appearance Commission and creating guidelines for here we want to give certain points. I want to say it's kind of a rubric. If we want new businesses, we give them 5 extra points for new business applying for this grant versus someone who's traditionally applied for this grant, just to prioritize a little better and help this discussion move along during that. But that'll be something we'll bring back up at next month's meeting as well. I think that's really all I had on the training side and additional items.
Okay. Anyone else have any additional items? I just have to say that I met with and saw the presentation that the staff's working on, and they're doing a great job. And we should all thank the staff for all their wonderful support. So thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
If there's no additional items, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Are we all doing it
That's all.
together?
We adjourn. Thank you.
Everybody say it once. Look at each other and say it.
I have to make a motion to adjourn. I don't know. I just assumed I did.
You're right.
Do I have to make a